Here's something that might shock you. Colorado just handed over $25.4 million to a company that doesn't even offer internet service yet, while established fiber providers were left scrambling for scraps. Welcome to the wild world of federal broadband funding, where Amazon's Project Kuiper, a satellite constellation that exists mostly on paper, just scored one of the biggest wins in Colorado's internet expansion efforts. And this is the part most people miss. Nearly half of Colorado's underserved households are now banking on a service that won't even launch until late 2025. Let me break down what's really happening here. The Colorado Broadband Office recently allocated this massive chunk of federal money to Amazon's ambitious satellite project, which involves launching 3,200 satellites into low Earth orbit. This funding comes from the colossal $42.5 billion Broadband Equity, Access and Deployment (BAD) program that Congress approved back in 2021 as part of the Infrastructure Act. But here's where it gets controversial. Amazon representatives completely declined to comment on this award, though they did share correspondence they'd sent to federal officials explaining why their non-existent service should compete with established providers. In that letter, Christopher Cook from Kuiper Systems made a compelling argument. Because satellite operators need not lay miles of fiber to connect customers in remote areas. A defining advantage of LEO broadband is that it costs little more to deliver service to remote corners of Montana than to a customer standing in Times Square. This cost advantage became the deciding factor when Trump administration officials shook everything up in early June. They completely rewrote the rules, forcing all states to restart their selection process in what's called the benefit of the bargain round. States had to prioritize the cheapest bids, regardless of technology type. And this is where things get really interesting. Colorado had already spent over a year evaluating proposals and had even handed out preliminary contracts to internet service providers. Suddenly, they had to throw it all out and start over with price as the primary consideration. The results were dramatic. Out of 56 states and territories, 36 have submitted their final proposals. And the projected savings are staggering. At least $13 billion, according to the National Telecommunications Information Administration. Brandy Ritter, who leads Colorado's broadband office, originally envisioned using the state's $826.5 million allocation to build robust fiber infrastructure throughout underserved areas. Instead, the new price-focused requirements slashed the final subsidy to just $420 million. But here's the silver lining that nobody's talking about. Colorado still has approximately $258 million left over. The state hopes to use these remaining funds for upgrading internet infrastructure in older apartment buildings, expanding public Wi-Fi access, and strengthening middle-mile network redundancy. However, whether Colorado actually gets to use this leftover money depends entirely on federal approval, which could take up to 90 days. Now, let's talk numbers that might surprise you. Amazon and its competitor SpaceX, which already operates Starlink satellite internet in Colorado, collectively secured 50% of the state's 90,000 eligible locations. These are households currently stuck with internet speeds slower than 100 megabits per second download and 20 megabits per second upload. Colorado's 50% allocation to low Earth orbit services represents the second highest rate nationwide, trailing only Montana at 62.5%. According to Connected Nation, a non-profit advocacy organization for broadband expansion, this is significantly higher than the national average. Colin Riley from Connected Nation analyzed 35 state proposals and found some eye-opening patterns. On average, states awarded 19.8% of locations to satellite services, 67.5% to fiber, 9.7% to fixed wireless, and 2.9% to cable. Major states like California, Texas, and New York haven't submitted their proposals yet, which could shift these percentages. I would have expected to see less fiber and more LEO satellites, Riley admitted. But there's been consistency across the board. There are certainly outliers like Colorado, but the percentage going to LEO is roughly 10 to 12% for most states. Many states wanted a higher percentage of fiber because they feel that's a better solution for their constituents. But the overall deciding factor was the lowest cost. Ritter wasn't surprised by Colorado's heavy satellite allocation, citing the state's geographical, topographical, excessive cost thresholds and lack of fiber middle-mile infrastructure challenges that limit fiber and fixed wireless broadband expansion. But here's what might frustrate taxpayers. Ritter has openly expressed disappointment that BEAD funding won't build comprehensive fiber infrastructure for all underserved Coloradans. Instead, many will receive wireless or satellite services that are already available to them. The reason? Satellite costs average just $561 per location compared to fiber's hefty price tag. None of our local fiber and especially fixed wireless companies could compete with Amazon and SpaceX, Ritter explained. Amazon bid on nearly every location in Colorado, whereas other states might have had different results based on who applied to their programs. Let's examine the cost breakdown that drove these decisions. Amazon proposed adding satellite capacity for underserved Coloradans at $600 per location. SpaceX's Starlink came in at $1,700 per location. Meanwhile, fiber installations require up to $13,000 per location in BEAD subsidies, with tribal locations costing slightly more. In Colorado's federal submission, low Earth orbit providers received $34.5 million, representing 8.2% of the total BEAD subsidy. Originally, they had requested $363 million. The majority of the $420 million went to fiber technology companies, which had initially asked for $464 million. The state broadband office kept their preliminary selection secret before the benefit of the bargain round forced a complete restart. However, several internet service providers had confirmed receiving preliminary approval notifications. Matt Larson, CEO of VistaBeam, discovered in December that some of his company's bids in Larimer and Weld counties had succeeded preliminarily. But the revised round brought significant reductions to their BEAD subsidy. The original awards were about 45% higher than the post-Bob round, Larson revealed. When we analysed what changed, the biggest difference involved locations removed from BEAD project areas due to new broadband deployment. The number of locations dropped considerably in some places. Ritter confirmed that the latest BEAD revisions eliminated 43,000 locations in Colorado because they already had access to fixed wireless internet service. Loveland-based Hilltop Broadband emerged as one of the fiber winners, receiving $12.8 million to install fiber internet at 1,058 locations in Custer County. This translates to just over $12,000 per location in BEAD subsidies. The higher cost compared to satellite services reflects the reality that internet service providers must design infrastructure plans, hire specialized staff, and complete actual construction and installation work. Satellite providers simply add capacity to existing orbital assets. These remaining households typically represent the most challenging and financially unattractive areas that internet providers previously avoided due to installation difficulties or limited profit potential. For Hilltop, the BEAD funding enables a crucial 6-mile fiber stretch connecting communities in Westcliff and Silvercliff. Eric Kripleski founded the company in 2015 for a reason many local internet providers share: the lack of internet availability in the area I lived in west of Berthoud. Facing Rocky Mountain terrain, Hilltop plans aerial construction instead of underground installation to avoid breaking through rock formations. This involves installing new utility poles for fiber cables or leasing space on existing poles owned by Xcel Energy or rural electric cooperatives. These requirements significantly increase fiber installation costs. After earlier successes, Hilltop faced setbacks in the revised round. They had modified some bids to include fixed wireless internet for price competitiveness, but these proposals lost to satellite providers. We anticipated the rules would shift in that direction, Ryplewski acknowledged. We didn't achieve as much success on the wireless side. Most of our victories in the revised round came from fiber projects. Most states meeting the September 4th deadline now await federal approval, expected by early December. Amazon has publicly committed to launching consumer satellite internet service in late 2025. Rajiv Badial, Project Kuiper's leader, recently shared network test results on social media showing internet speeds exceeding 1 gigabit, approaching fiber internet performance and surpassing Starlink's advertised speeds by more than 10 times. Vistabean's Larson explained that his company cannot proceed until state subcontracts are finalized. Following that, design and permitting phases will require 6 to 9 months. If everything proceeds smoothly, fiber construction could begin in late summer of 2026 and take approximately 3 years to complete. Initial customers typically get connected 6 months after construction starts. Ryplewski estimates that potential Hilltop fiber customers in Custer County could expect service within 2 years after construction begins. I believe the state did everything possible to prioritize fiber and ensure solid connections, giving rural residents opportunities for service quality matching or exceeding what metropolitan areas receive, Ryplewski concluded. But here's the question that should keep everyone up at night. Are we making the right bet by putting so much faith in a satellite service that doesn't exist yet? And what happens to rural Colorado if Amazon's ambitious timeline doesn't pan out as promised? What's your take on this controversial decision? Should states prioritize proven fiber infrastructure over experimental satellite technology, even if it costs more? Or is the potential for rapid deployment worth the risk of betting on unproven services? The comment section is calling for your thoughts on whether Colorado made the smart choice or just took the easy way out.